such ethical violations. I've never seen anything like this happen in all these years. It's quite shocking. So I guess you got a lot to put on the record, huh?
Okay.
Wow. I mean, you guys could try to win fair, but I mean, if you have such a horrible case that you can't actually play fair and still win, it's pretty shocking.
They said 4 hours. Did I make a promise on
Yeah, we're gonna have to get all that on the record.
Okay. No, I understand that.
No, I just meant if it was after
Do you have a
5 or
hard
something.
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Totally fine then.
Ethical
I'm
violation.
great. I just thought I'd check so I could make arrangements.
Okay. Great. I think we are ready to go back on the record. I will, of course, have some stuff that we have to get on the record here before we.
We are going back on the record. The time is 1:32 p.m. This is the beginning of media, Unit 4.
Great. So we just went off the record there. Took a small break here. I left the room. This is Ben Hitchcock, Cross Law Firm talking. I left the room for approximately 2 minutes, in which case I heard shouting coming from this room. I understand that Mr. Reardon, that's attorney for Milwaukee Public Schools, and Mr. Grinnell, that's attorney for the witness here, had several comments to make to my clients, Angela Ford and Debbie Keither. I understand specifically that Mr. Reardon, these are both represented parties, told my client that he cannot wait to get her in the witness chair, and that he's excited for federal court, and that he intends to depose her for 7 hours. Apparently that was meant to be a threat. I also understand that there was other specific comments that were related directly to the ongoing case and between Debbie Keither and Milwaukee Public Schools, for which Chris Reardon represents Milwaukee Public Schools. I was very shocked to learn this information, and I asked Dr. Keither to not speak with Mr. Chason anymore. There was certainly a discussion about the ethics in regard to that. At that time, I was not aware of the nature of these comments, that they were specifically on the upcoming, the removal to federal court and Mr. Reardon's personal desire to depose Dr. Keither. So I was very shocked to learn that Mr. Reardon was essentially making threats to a represented party, and this is, of course, was witnessed by several people. I understand that the court reporter here witnessed this. Mr. Chason also witnessed this behavior as well. And I believe that Dr. Ford and Mike DeGale, the videographer for today, also witnessed these statements. Based on my witness of the reaction of Mr. Grinnell and Mr. Reardon, it was clear to me that they felt that they were ethically entitled to make these statements to Dr. Keither and apparently Dr. Ford as well, and that they found that there was no ethical barrier to them making such comments to these represented parties. I think we from Cross Law Firm expressed our shock and dismay at this action. Noah Hitchcock Cross from our office came up here and remonstrated with Mr. Grinnell and Mr. Reardon, and that is where the matter rests now.
Just to clarify your soliloquy, 1, Dr. Keither engaged us. 2, Dr. Keither's case is withdrawn. There is no case going on presently against MPS. And finally, there was no threat made. I want to depose her if she files a federal court case, and I will take the required 7 hours.
Do you have anything to add, Mr. Grinnell?
No, because a lot of what you said is, pretty ridiculous in terms of the facts of the information. So I don't have much more to add to what Chris just said.
Okay. Are we all ready to proceed then?
Yeah, we're waiting on you.
All right. Chason, are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
All right. Do you ever have any contact with the city attorney's office regarding discrimination complaints brought to your office?
I believe so.
Okay, what is that contact?
To seek advice on either proceeding or, given certain circumstances, what good approaches are indicated.
Okay. Did you consult the city attorney's office with regard to Angela Ford?
I don't remember doing so.
Okay. Have you ever consulted with Nick Sinram regarding any whistleblower complaints?
Yes.
Who is Nick Sinram?
He is the assistant city attorney.
Okay. Does he currently work for Milwaukee Public Schools?
Not officially.
Okay. How about unofficially?
There was an appointment that was approved by the board last night, but I don't believe that there has been an effective start date.
Okay. What is that appointment that was approved by the board?
I believe it was a director of financial planning and budget, I think it was the title.
Okay. And was that approved in open session or in some other way?
There's a two-step process for personnel appointments. It goes first through committee, and then once the committee approves it, it then goes to the full board.
Okay. And are you able now to answer my question?
I'm sorry, so it was approved in open session in two places, both at the committee and at the full board.
Okay. And that's happened as of today?
The action was taken last night for the full board and then at the committee earlier in the month.
Okay. And you were at that board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware if Dr. Ford was disciplined at any time by Dr. Saffold?
I believe that she was.
Okay, how was she disciplined?
I believe there was a unpaid, I want to say 3-day suspension.
Okay. And you're aware of Dr. Garcia-Hoven?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and again, you testified in Dr. Garcia-Hoven's case, right?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to that time, had you ever, let me ask you that, were you ever represented by anybody with regard to Dr. Jose Garcia-Hoven's case?
Yes.
Who were you represented by?
Mr. Grinnell.
Okay, when did that happen?
Prior to that hearing.
How do you know that?
I had a conversation with my representative before the hearing.
Okay. And when you were in the hearing, did we discuss that matter?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and what was your answer at that time?
I think I said I don't know who represents me in this matter.
Okay. And have you discussed that issue with Mr. Grinnell at any time?
Yes, I have.
Okay, was that after the hearing?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, the 3-day suspension that Dr. Saffold issued to Dr. Ford, do you know if Dr. Ford served those 3 days?
I believe so.
Okay. And what action, if any, did your office take in response to learning that Dr. Ford had been issued a 3-day suspension?
I believe I had a conversation with HR to get more details on the circumstances surrounding that suspension.
Okay, was this the same conversation you mentioned earlier with Therese Freiberg? Yeah.
Yeah, if not the same day, a different day.
Okay. So do you recall those two conversations or no?
I don't recall if it was 2 or 1.
Okay. And what was the response by Therese Freiberg?
I believe that they were following a grievance process to determine whether or not, well, I think they were following a grievance process as set forth in the employee handbook with disciplinary matters.
Okay. And when you were discussing with Savion Grinnell about your testimony at the Garcia-Hoven hearing, in what context was that discussion?
Essentially how I think I had embarrassingly conflated my representation in the Keither matter with the Hoven matter.
Okay. And who communicated that to you?
Oh, wait, say it again?
Objection vague.
Who communicated that information to you?
Objection. Who was?
My last.
Hold on. Who communicated what?
Do you understand the question, sir?
I want to make sure that I communicated appropriately. What I communicated was my own sense that I had misrepresented that, and I reached out to Mr. Grinnell to inform that I think I misstated that.
Great. Why did you form that opinion?
I think upon reflection after the hearing, I realized that I had stated that incorrectly.
Okay. Did you discuss that information with anybody other than Savion Grinnell?
I don't think so.
Okay. So it's your testimony that after the hearing, you realized that you had testified and then you spoke to Mr. Grinnell. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Did you correct your testimony after you made that realization?
I don't think so.
Okay. Did you ever discuss filing of a motion to quash a subpoena in Dr. Garcia-Hoven's case with anybody?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you ever discuss a motion to quash a subpoena in Dr. Keither's case?
I believe so.
Okay. And and to be clear, you recall the one for Dr. Keither, but you don't recall one for Dr. Ford or Dr. Garcia-Hoven?
I don't.
Okay, great. All right. All right. I'm going to put another exhibit in front of you here. I believe round 4. Thank you.
Do you have enough copies for everybody?
Do you want a copy?
Is that two?
Is it? Oh,
We've got one here, we've got one here, and I've got the original. All right.
So we have 3. We need
Okay.
4.
You'll make it, I'm sure.
Okay.
Do you need time to review the document? And maybe he can then review it, or how do you want to do this?
No.
No,
I would prefer a copy as you're asking me questions about it, though. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I will wait then.
Okay.
Okay. So let me know when you've reviewed it.
It's in front of me now, so that's fine. You can ask questions, but I'm just saying I would like a copy whenever it becomes available.
All right. So, have you seen this document?
I'm so sorry. I gave this to Miss Keither.
No problem.
Sorry.
No problem at all. Have you seen this document?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Do you recognize what this document is based on your knowledge as an MPS employee?
This looks like a communication that is developed when there's I don't know what they call it, a supervisory meeting.
Okay, supervisory concern, does that sound right?
Yes, I think.
Okay. And is your knowledge of the MPS policy and procedures that a supervisory concern is different than a disciplinary action?
I don't know what the distinction between the two are, to be honest.
Okay. But nobody's ever raised that issue to you in your capacity as investigator?
No, I think people have raised that to also trying to determine what, if any, difference exists between those two terms.
Okay. So I'm just gonna direct you to the last page of this document.
Page 2, yes.
Page 2, okay. And this document is to Felicia, from Felicia Saffold, is that right?
Yes,
Okay. And the last line here says, if you commit similar acts such as the one described in this letter in the future, disciplinary action will be taken up to and including termination. Did I read that right?
yes,
Okay, and it's copied to Jennifer Mims Howell, is that right?
yes it is.
Who is that?
She is the Chief Academic Officer.
Okay, and that's at this time of the date of this letter, March 7th, 2022?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And then going back to your notes here regarding your conversations with Dr. Ford, is this document referenced in those notes? And by this document, just so we're clear, I'm talking about Exhibit 4 now.
Sure.
For the record.
Yeah. I believe so, where we talk about that Ms. Ford had filed a grievance to overturn a Saffold suspension.
Okay.
Overturn a,
Saffold suspension. That's what I'm connecting.
Okay. And that's, is this also the instance in which that you noted that Dr. Ford is alleging that Dr. Saffold is acting on behalf of Dr. Holliday?
That I don't know.
Okay. And is that because it's unclear from the context or for some other reason?
From the context.
Okay. Okay. And part of your job is to watch out for whistleblower retaliation, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so how do you monitor retaliation against whistleblowers?
We take a look at what information the Office of Accountability had shared as it respects to its investigation, and we look for a nexus to that information by a party who can mete out any level of retaliation to the individual or the person who brought the concern.
When do you do that? Sorry, let me rephrase that. And what triggers such actions? What triggers those actions?
If an individual tells us that they are being retaliated against, and they inform us.
Okay. What if you learn of discipline against somebody who you know to be a whistleblower? What action, if any, do you take?
It would depend on whether or not our investigation would have opened the opportunity for an individual to know if they had contacted our office.
Okay, what does that mean?
So what we look for is an intersection between the knowledge of the person engaging in the whistleblower activity with this office and then engaging in retaliatory behavior.
Okay, and so in March of 2022, were you aware of whistleblower complaints that Dr. Ford had filed?
Yes,
Okay, and were you aware of whether or not Dr. Saffold had supervisory control over Dr. Ford?
yes,
Okay, and does this supervisory letter here indicate to you that there is possible retaliation going on by Dr. Saffold, based on your knowledge and understanding as a whistleblower investigator?
Object the front section's argumentative, also lacks foundation. This individual indicates that he's not familiar with the supervisory letter, so I don't know how he can make any kind of reference to that. Form is vague and broad as well.
Joanne?
I would say that in a temporal consideration, I could see these related.
Okay. And that's one of the criteria that you use to investigate possible retaliation is temporal connection, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, and I want to be clear, you didn't investigate this supervisory letter for retaliation against Dr. Ford, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that was, why did you not do that?
Yeah, I wanted to double check with HR to see what process they were following as it related to their handling of the grievance process that Ms. Ford had availed herself in the employee handbook.
Okay, and, but you had already told us before, correct me if I'm wrong, that numerous whistleblowers had told you that they were concerned that when they filed complaints with HR, they were retaliated against, right?
We had heard that complaint, yes.
Okay, and to be clear, you had heard that complaint?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
And you had also specifically heard that complaint from Dr. Ford, correct?
that is correct.
Okay. Okay. Did Dr. Ford ever send you any documentation to support her allegations?
I took receipt of everything that I believe she produced for HR.
Okay. So, let's look at this
There
one
should be a-
here. I don't think so, but we'll go. Okay, I think this one's 5.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
John,
What do you own?
Whatever, need a copy.
It's perfectly fine if I'm sharing.
4.
It's okay.
no, we would like another copy if you give
Okay.
us one. Thank you.
Debbie, do it because you want to,
Yes,
not
of
because
course.
they told you to. Okay. It's not Amelia Bedelia, that is, Miss Pigglewiggle. That's who that is.
No idea what you're talking about.
Oh, well, then you're missing out. If you don't know Miss Pigglewiggle, you're missing out. This is all these cures for these children, these naughty children, and one of them is a talker back cure. And the girl frequently says, I'll do it because I want to, not because you tell me to.
Like a Care Bear or something?
No, it's like a wise old woman who lives in an upside down house. And the cure for that one is she gets him a talking parrot.
No, never heard of that.
The talking parrot gives her a taste of her own medicine, upon which she grows spiritually.
Thank you for your very random facts.
All right. Well, I heartily encourage everyone to learn something from Miss Pigglewiggle. Are we ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Have you received this document before?
Well, actually, no, we're not ready because we don't have copies of that document.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Yes. I'm not sure if you want to go off the record, you can continue, or you can just continue to tell us random facts about Ms. Picklewood.
She says that her husband is a pirate and that he's buried his treasure in her backyard. She has a hat stand full of all sorts of hats, and she doesn't mind if children beat them or turn them into all sorts of shapes because she encourages them to do so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She has a cat named Lightfoot and a dog named Wags. She has a horse named Trotsky, which that's a clever pun on Leon Trotsky and the fact that horses trot.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right. Are we now ready to
Yeah,
proceed?
good to go.
All right. Have you seen this document before?
I'm familiar with the communication on it as an email thread.
Great, and it was copied to you, right?
That is correct. yeah.
Okay, did you read that at this time, at that time?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, in fact, this is an email from Jennifer Mims Howell, who, again, she's the chief academic officer, right?
Yes.
And so from my understanding, that's the position that Dr. Holliday had held at one time?
In an interim capacity, yes.
And then he was, we won't say demoted, but he was not confirmed in that interim capacity, isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was in part due to your report of Dr. Keither's whistleblower complaint to the board, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And that's based on your firsthand knowledge, right?
The intersection of the timing.
I appreciate that clarification. So, Jennifer Mims Howell says, thank you, I will look into this. And there is allegations by Dr. Ford here that's saying that she, because on the second page,
Yes.
I read here, good morning, Dr. Ford. Are you saying that at no time you were told that the meeting you had with Dr. Saffold was supervisory? Did I read that right?
Yes.
Okay, and is that a concern that Dr. Ford shared with you?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Based on your knowledge of this communication, what action, if any, did Jennifer Mims Howell take in response to this complaint?
I might be conflating another instance, but I think her response was to, I don't know, if remove or retract the supervisory letter and instead issue some sort of a follow-up email.
Okay. So she canceled, that's Jennifer Mims Howell canceled out Dr. Saffold's supervisory letter. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my understanding.
Okay. And how did you come by that understanding?
I don't recall if I came by that understanding through subsequent communications with any of the parties here, or if it was observed in a document.
Okay. And based on your understanding of the whistleblower process, in what capacity is Dr. Ford going to Jennifer Mims Howell here in this string of emails?
I think looking for advocacy and support on an issue with their supervisor.
Okay. Is that would you classify that as an HR matter?
Yes.
Okay. What assistance, if any, did you give to Dr. Ford with this HR matter?
None specifically.
Okay. Thank you for that. I think we're done with this exhibit unless you have anything else you wanted to add. No, okay. If I believe you have the marked one, so if you'll put that face down here, I'd appreciate that. We can go back to that as needed. Okay. Okay, you provided notes on whistleblowers of people who brought whistleblower complaints to you in response to an order from an administrative law judge, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so you provided notes from Teresa Falleron, right?
Yes.
And Angela Ford.
Yes.
Anybody else?
Amy Chastik. There might have been others too.
Okay, and what was the nature of Amy Chastik's complaint?
It was related to concerns with NPSU, specifically the handling and the management of NPSU matters.
Okay. Now, I guess was there a race-based component to those complaints?
Oh, I don't remember.
What do you know whether or not there is a predominant race of students who attend MPS University?
I don't know.
Okay. What, broadly speaking, then, were the complaints that Amy Chastik brought against MPSU?
Generally mismanagement and I believe she raised concerns about Lonnie Anderson as well,
Okay.
but I can't remember if those were in the capacity of MPSU specifically. I don't recall.
Okay. Do you know what race Amy Chastik is?
I believe she's white.
Okay. And Lonnie Anderson, do you know what race he is?
I believe he's African American.
Okay. Now, Calvin Furman made a whistleblower complaint to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was against Keith Posley, right?
Yes.
Okay. And nothing came of that, right?
Objection vague and overbroad.
Yeah, with the exception of a demotion of Marla Bernal.
Sorry, nothing came of, nothing adverse happened to Keith Posley, right?
I think that's an accurate statement.
Okay. Rashenda Kantosh made I'm sorry that I mispronounced that last name.
Roshana Kapatosh?
I appreciate that clarification. She made a whistleblower complaint to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What action, if any, did you take in response to that?
Her concern was related to the engagement and the enforcement of contract policy language whereby contractors would have to obtain insurance. And I offered to reach out to the procurement and to the administration and say, hey, are there waivers that can be permitted for certain dollar amounts and certain risk levels? And is there anything you can do to assist in moving the contracted work that she is soliciting forward in that capacity?
Okay. What race, if any, is Rashenda Kantosh, if you know?
I believe she's Native American,
Okay.
First Nations.
And what was her role within the district, if you know?
I believe she oversees First Nation studies.
Okay. Was there a claim made by her that there was, that her office, for lack of a better word, was receiving unfavorable treatment due to her race?
Yes, I believe she alleged that.
Okay. And what was the nature of those allegations?
I believe it had to do with her ability to use budget dollars for a grant, and also the contract matter that I shared before.
Okay. And was there, but was the allegation that the contract matter issue was occurring because of her race?
I believe she did allege that.
Okay. And do you know whether or not Bob Peterson ever reached out to Rashenda Kantosh at all regarding this matter?
I don't know if he reached out to her, but my recollection is that they communicated together regarding the issue.
How do you know that?
What I recall is Bob Peterson sharing that with me.
Okay. Did he say how he had reached out to her?
I don't recall if he reached out or if she reached out. I don't recall who initiated.
Great. What, if anything, did you discuss with Bob Peterson regarding Rashenda Kantosh?
We reject the form of these questions, broad and vague, as well as not relevant to the issues involved in this matter, but go ahead and answer.
Drawing.
Yeah, I told him that I would follow up and see what discretion could be afforded underneath the enforcement of insurance so that the work that Rashonda was attempting to solicit could move forward.
I just don't understand what that means.
Given that her concern was that her contracts were being held up and that what appeared to be the holdup was an insurance contract requirement, if there was any latitude that could be extended to remove, modify, waive the insurance requirement for her contractors.
Okay, and that was a special project assigned to you by Board Member Peterson, right?
He had reached out at the same time that was already the motions that I was taking, having taken receipt of the concern from Ms. Kapatosh.
Okay, so he reached out to you in parallel, is that fair to say?
Yes, yes.
Okay, was there a consensus of the board for his request, or did that just come from Director Peterson?
I understood it to only come from Director Peterson.
Okay, and then, but it's also fair to say that then you took that was a special project that then you completed.
That's fair.
Okay, did you report back to Director Peterson?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you have any other discussions with Director Peterson regarding Ms. Kantosh?
I think it was only in the context of the contract issues.
Okay. Do you ever email Bob Peterson?
Yep.
Okay. Which email address do you use for Bob Peterson?
I'll typically reply to whatever address he had emailed to me, or
Okay.
from whatever address he had emailed me.
And so, do board members, based on your analysis, they get a Milwaukee Public Schools email address?
Yes.
Okay. Are there times that he's emailed you from email accounts other than the Milwaukee Public School email account?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a Gmail account?
I believe that it is.
Okay. Are there any other accounts that he's emailed you from?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. About when did this conversation happen with Bob Peterson?
I believe it took place in 2021.
Okay. Are school board directors issued phones by Milwaukee Public Schools?
If they're not issued, I believe they can be requested. I'm not sure if it's a sort of a mandatory or if it's upon request. I'm not sure.
Okay. When you're, do you ever see school board directors with more than one phone?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have reason to believe that one of those phones is a school board phone?
Yes.
Okay. Which MPS directors have you seen using more than one phone?
Bob Peterson. Director Gokul Gandhi. I believe Director Carr.
Okay. Is that it, you think?
That's what I recall.
Okay. Have you ever seen any of those three directors using more than one phone for school board business?
You can check the form of questions project is also foundation.
And speculative.
And by seeing them use, what I'm trying to recall is the numbers that I've seen produced on the phone when I take the call. So, can you restate the question? Sorry.